From the west comes old death, a-riding on the storm, with hungry eyes for funeral fires to burn till the morrow's dawn. For 'tis the night, here comes the dead, unbound from the underworld, and all the children dress as the babes of hell, all the boys and all the girls. And the fire shall burn, and the wheel of life shall turn, and the dead come back home on Samhain. And keep
And
crawling,
keep crawling with Mike and Brendan
from the grave. Yes, we haven't even had enough time to begin to stink. We've been done only like 2-3 weeks, and here we are.
2 weeks.
I am Michael Curtis, and joining with me is
Brendan LaSalle at your service as always. And tonight we have our most special guest.
Ciao, paisans! Joey Royale in the house. It is an honor to be in your basement, friends.
Absolutely.
We had to roll out the third television on the TV stand. We had to unlook the UHF things on the back of it. We had to, I had to disconnect Pong, but we got it out. We pushed it through the shag rug, so we got three shows here going on tonight. So, welcome, Joey. Thank you very much for agreeing to come on our annual Halloween Spooktacular show.
I am so excited. We got a lot to discuss.
Oh yeah,
we do. But before we get into the meat, the carnage, the tendons, the offal of what we are going to be stuck in this evening. Tomorrow, literally tomorrow is Halloween. I cannot believe it. It just feels like, it feels like a mere 30 days ago I started watching my annual October movie horror marathon, and now tomorrow it's over. So what do you guys been doing? You guys any plans for tomorrow?
Really?
Sure. I'm trick-or-treating, man. My daughter is in 5th grade. And my son's in 8th grade, so they're still in the throes of youthful Halloween celebrations. We're going to be hitting some neighborhoods, messing up some cul-de-sacs, and it's going to be a wonderful evening here in New England. I cannot wait.
Outstanding.
And how about you, Brendan?
Oh man, our traditional. We're going to watch some horror movies. We're going to do a yummy dinner, and then if whatever trick-or-treaters come by are getting a cascade of candy dropped upon them because I've bought way too much and it needs to all go. So, so if you're in the neighborhood, we have our final Halloween. This is like our traditional Halloween night movie. Tomorrow night we are going to watch Trick or Treat, which we love, and it's
have this. You and I discussed this yesterday. This is the anthology version. This is not the one with Ozzy Osbourne as a priest.
No. This is Anna Paquin and 8,000 other really cool people, and multiple stories. It's gruesome, it's funny, it's gross. We love it, and it's the final thing to kick off the season for us. So, I want one more October, one more October month before, because I'm not ready to let it go yet. So I told Lori, I said we're going to extend Halloween movie season right up to Christmas movie season. You know what I mean? So whole month of November.
Christmas keeps intruding on Halloween territory, so there's no reason why Halloween just can't, intrude on Christmas territory.
You could lose your mind.
I do feel that Halloween has hit a resurgence lately. I don't know if it's just my area, but I see so many more, an exponential growth of people decorating their houses, like going above and beyond for Halloween. There was a lull for some time, but I think it's back. Perhaps after COVID, people are just doing it up and celebrating more.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I think Hallmark is throwing its money around, I think is what's going on. Because now there's like Halloween cards out, it feels like as soon as they put away like the 4th of July stuff, they start cracking out like the Halloween crap. So, all right, so that's good. So, all right, well, I hope the weather is good for those of you who are going out there, wherever you may be going out there. And I hope that you get everything that you deserve. So tonight, as is our wont, every year we do a Halloween horror kind of spectacular, and we talk about spooky stuff and popular culture. And since we have covered a lot of ground over the 3 years that Keep Crawlin has been around, this year we've decided to go highbrow. So this year we are going to speak about literary influences. So so my partner in crime and our wonderful special guest, we have put together, and Brendan, he's all set.
I can't see shit. I can't.
Joey is wearing his prescription mask tonight, so he's
You know, I got to tell you something. I've been looking into somebody that will make a prescription mask for me because I really can't see without this. So I am looking at some way to make a prescription domino mask.
You have a domino mask with progressive lenses. That's it.
If there's anybody out there, I'm looking for two things: a domino mask with prescription lenses, and anybody who can make me embroidered, embellished capes like Walter Mercado that I can wear just all the time, which is my costume this year. If you missed the pizza party, so looking for embellished capes, friends, and somebody who's handy with glass frames and masks.
If you've been thinking about starting an Etsy channel,
yeah,
forefront. There you go.
There you go. You want my money? That right there. Robes and masks.
Prescription mask and embroidered capes. There you go.
Yep, and embroidered capes.
Welcome to the good times, y'all.
I mean, I feel like if you hang around like the back entrance of certain casinos in Las Vegas, you get like a secondhand embroidered cape. You know, like
I think I know a guy, Mike. We're working on that.
Okay.
We're working on that.
So, Mike, we didn't touch on your Halloween plans. What are you gonna? What's so? Mike has a tradition every year.
Every year I make the attempt. I'm totally honest about this. Some years more successful than others, but this year is definitely a good year. I watched 31 horror movies in Halloween over the course of October, and the only stipulation is they can't be a movie I've seen before. So no going back to the old classics. Always, most of the time they're from the 1960s and 1970s, and about half the time they're like UK horror, like Hammer Films or Tygon or Amicus or something like that. But I've been doing it long enough that I realize I'm beginning to run out of movies, and they're not making more movies from the 1960s and 1970s.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, that's what I've heard.
That's a shame, really. You ask me.
I mean, they made The Love Witch, which kind of was, but it was done, a couple of years ago. And if you were a fan of that 1960s, 1970s horror movie, and you've not seen The Love Witch, I fell in love with it within like the first 30 seconds of the movie.
Okay.
Like, I swear it looks like they shot it in like Technicolor, like all like everything is right. You're just like, oh, this is so good. And so yeah. So that's my plan. And if kids show up, I give them stuff. So that's about it now. But yeah. So an X-Crawl Lucha Libre local embroidered cape. Thank you, Jacob's Can.
Sold. Take my money.
So and Keith the Gamer Geek. Yes, I hit those big three. Those are the big three that I got a wonderful book, but it's somewhere else. It's just an entire book of like 50 great British horror movies and some not so great ones. So yeah. Hey, I have a question for you guys. Do you give weird stuff out during the Halloween to kids? Not since the incident.
Yeah. Right. Yep. You nailed that. Yeah. Well, all three of us are pending investigation, so the answer is yes, but we just can't say what.
Fair enough. I am giving out something weird this year for the first time. I was at Trader Joe's. And apparently Trader Joe's has their own brand of little tiny candy bars now, like their Trader Joe's things. So maybe I'm getting egged, but I had to try all the new stuff. So I got this. So I'm giving out Trader Joe's little candy bars this year, and I have sampled them all. It's like exactly a Milky Way, exactly a Snickers, like this. You know what I mean? Like super close. So that's as weird as it's gonna get for me this year.
I got all my candy from Lidl this year, so I've got a big bowl of Kits.
Nice.
I'm gonna do pennies and apples just to be a real jerk. Everybody gets a penny and an apple. I'm gonna put the penny in the apple.
Oh,
yeah.
That's urban legend that you'll be,
the Penny Man, JC Penny. Yeah, that'll be great.
Do they still come around with the UNICEF boxes? I haven't seen one of those.
I haven't seen those in a long time.
No, long time.
That was a scam. They busted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, I did that one year.
You had a UNICEF scam, or
No,
that's how we got the
bank. $3,000 in one night, tax free. I collected money for UNICEF over like the course of of October, and I did okay. I think,
What a
but
gem.
it was,
What a
as far
gem.
as I know, it wasn't a scam. As far as I know, someone actually, I don't know what, they got USEF'd. So
You get UNICEF. It's the first time I've heard that as a verb.
All right. Well, we can and we will sit here and talk all night, but we should at least make an extent because we theoretically we have to get through 15 books in like
Yes,
the
we
next
do.
roughly
good luck.
39 minutes. So
Here we
let's
go.
dive in. So as I said, we picked, each of us picked our top 5 horror short stories or novels. There is some overlap, and we actually all of it, like our number one is all by the same author. So stick around. This is going to be very interesting. I think if somebody has the same title on their list, I think kind of hold off your stuff while that person is talking about it. So like, if Joey has something which is number 5 and he's talking about it and it's like number 3, I won't say much, and vice versa. And then, but when we get to it, we can do all, we'll see what happens. All right. And there's a couple honorable mentions in here too. So we might kind of stray around from 5. So that's probably what we should get going. So since Brendan and I are good hosts, we will let Mr. Joey Royale. Why don't you kick off with your number 5 on your top 5 list of
This
favorite?
one goes. Yes, thank you very much. This one goes way back. It's one of the first pieces of classic literature I've ever read, at the suggestion of my father, and that is The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. I've just became aware that there's a series now on Netflix. I don't know what that's like, but I'm going back to a truly horrific short story where Poe did not waste one word on something that was not morose. This is like, what is it? Maybe 6 pages long as a short story, but it is so, like every single sentence is dark or foggy or dusty or sorrowful or gloomy. He wasted no words in describing a perfectly haunted, decrepit mansion and the mental illness of the family that inhabits it, or supernatural illness of the family that inhabits it. I think it's a quintessential piece of Gothic horror. I think as time moves on, some of us, maybe, I always have to go back to it, take Edgar Allan Poe for granted because he is just so woven into the history of horror. And every bookstore I go to, they always have 5 copies of the works of Edgar Allan Poe. So I look over it to find the weird thing from the 80s. But Edgar Allan Poe, you can't do wrong in my book. Second, the holy trilogy for me, the trinity for me for Edgar Allan Poe as a kid was first The Cask of Amontillado, The Telltale Heart, and then The Fall of the House of Usher was the one that really gave me the chills. You have the panic of The Telltale Heart, the panic of Amontillado, but the Fall of the House of Usher is just such this impending claustrophobic flu-like horror. So that's my number 5. I absolutely adore the book. Read it again yesterday during my lunch break in preparation for this show, and it still hits like it used to.
Yeah, outstanding.
Yeah, I mean the literally the house is the symbol, is like this is symbolic of the entire descent into madness that the entire family is undergoing is rich with symbolism. Of course, most famously, Tom Mulvey, he stole a whole bit of Fall of the House of Usher and put it in Castle Amber, one of my favorite books. Actually,
I definitely got those vibes from Castle Amber for sure.
I mean, there's literally he didn't even scrape the serial numbers off of it because there's literally a one of the members of the Amber family is hypersensitive to loud noises and everything.
Okay.
And halfway through the discussion of it, his sister, who he thought is dead and buried like underneath the flagstone down in the family, she comes like bursting out of there. So yeah, I mean it's like he did so much scrub the serial numbers off, and it's just like dust lightly, So yeah,
a tribute. Yes.
But steal from the best. I was actually just down in Baltimore like 2 weeks ago and actually saw it's his original burial place because apparently he's not there anymore. But
really,
yeah, there's like a little churchyard. It's like right on the corner in the middle of Baltimore. So I was literally, the hotel was literally 2 blocks over there. So like I got out, walked over 2 blocks, and hey, here it is, and no. All right. So Folly also has an excellent choice there, Joey.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Brendan LaSalle, what do you have on the list?
I went in the exact opposite direction. I went for super contemporary.
Love
And I wrote it this morning. It's amazing. No, it's a Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill.
Love
Which, if you haven't had a chance to check out Joe Hill's work, I think he's fantastic. I like more of his books than I dislike. I think they're really great. In this particular one, here's some modern for you. A washed up has-been rock star with a kind of a who loves the macabre decides to buy a ghost off of eBay. It goes poorly.
A little close to home. Little close to home there.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's fantastic. The story really kind of unspools. It winds up being like a ghost chase road story that goes, takes place across the highway and into different territories as these people are like literally fleeing from their lives from this thing and trying to undo all of the what they unleashed by buying the stupid thing. And it's great. So the ghost comes in the form of a suit. It's a haunted suit, which comes, of course, in a heart-shaped box. And it's about rock and roll and music and modern times and like having left your friends and family behind. I think it's a great spooky one, and I recommend it highly. I hope everyone, I think give Joe Hill a chance. A lot of people know his work from what's it called? Oh, Lock and Key. Right. Yeah, Lock and Key. Lock and Key is great fun, but check out Horns, and definitely check out Heart-Shaped Box.
Yeah, I have. I'm only familiar with Lock and Key, with the comic, with the graphic novel stuff. I haven't read any of his fiction, but I have a great deal of respect for him, just because of the fact that, like, okay, yeah, my dad's Stephen King. I want to be a writer, and like talk about a shadow to get out from under, and
I know, right?
And he really could have gone like, the Nepo baby thing and be like, hey, like, I'm Joe King, but
yeah,
he did, like, I'm gonna take mom's maiden name and nobody will know who I am, and then hopefully I can stand on my own merits. And
yeah,
I mean, he's done all right for himself. So
yeah, he's distinct in his writing from his father. Heart-Shaped Box is truly terrifying, particularly the beginning for me as you learn more about the haunting. Side note, somebody I used to work with in a former job that I didn't really get along with shared that book with me. Things got worse, and as a parting gift when they left the company, I received a heart-shaped box with a little paper suit inside of it as kind of a have a nice life. So that was a little, I checked my back a couple times walking out to the car after that experience. And you'd get it if you read the book, just how terrifying that is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gosh darn. Ooh, creepy stuff.
All right.
All right, Michael, your turn, sir. What's going to be
right. My number 5 is going to be a name that if you don't recognize, what the hell are you watching the show for? Of course, it's going to be The Shadow over Innsmouth by L.P. Hovercraft, or as I refer to, Mr. H.P. Lovecraft.
Well done.
So yes, the Shadow over Innsmouth. I read Shadow over Innsmouth for the first time in Maine in the summer at night by flashlight. When Ooh. I was the family had like rented a cabin on a lake, and so there was like the nearest road was like a quarter mile down the way, and like the nearest neighbor was down the lake a little bit and everything like that. And we talked about reading a book in an unfamiliar like I had never I think maybe I had been to the cabin one summer before, but I didn't really. Like I'm totally out of my element. It's dark, I mean, I'm just sitting reading this, because I had heard about H.P. Lovecraft. I think Stephen King had like quoted him, but I had never read any of his stuff. And I got one of his compilations. I don't even remember where I got my hands on it because this is before, Amazon. I was like, I get luckily interlibrary loan or something. And I can't say that it started my love for this, but it definitely fueled my love for, before I knew a more formal term for it, I just referred to it as small town with dark secrets. I love that sort of genre. And now it's a lot of that is now folk horror, or at least we call it that. But Yeah, I love Shadow over Innsmouth. We're gonna get to another town with a Dark Secret before the show is over. But I love things like Twin Peaks, like weird little town, Dark Secret.
Absolutely.
I mean, totally, that is totally my whole
Me
vibe.
too, man. Me too.
And,
Harvest Home. Yeah.
and I went back and forth on what my number 5 was, because I knew it was either going to go with Shadow or Innsmouth, or I was going to do the Dunwich Horror.
Yes.
And
Yep.
thinking about it, and like the Dunwich Horror is like the classic kind of Call of Cthulhu scenario, except for the fact that like the kind of they win at the end of it. Yeah. And the Shadow over Innsmouth has just a much more more what you consider a Lovecraftian ending. This is it's just like, well, we got out of town. Yay. And then it's like, well, there's still 2 more pages of this book left, like so this short story. So I like it. He's Lovecraft is not big on characters, but I mean there are like the old drunk who
The drunk, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean he's recognizable. I mean, so it's a favorite of mine. I love I love the setting. Anything set in New England, kind of my New England, New York, kind of the whole upper, what I call America's attic. Yeah. It's where we keep all the spooky stuff, right? So
I thought the drunk guy was a great narrative tool. Like he was able, like that's how you're able to get the background of what goes on, and then you have the others, because he was like the only human.
Right.
That was really, I thought that was a really cool narrative tool.
Yeah.
And my favorite of the movies that have been made of Lovecraft, my favorite adaptation, is Dagon, which is of course comes from that. And they they set it in Italy, and it's it's a really good adaptation.
That's actually the other reason why with Shadow over Innsmouth, because the 2 movie adaptations, you either have Dagon or you have the Dunwich Horror with Dean Stockwell.
Dean Stockwell, yeah.
And at one point, literally somebody is like, did she just get attacked by Sigmund the Sea Monster? And, like, the Dunwich Horror.
Nothing like a day out on the beach. Ah!
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
We watched that one a while back, and one of our house jokes is now, I'm Dean Stockwell, and I approve this freak out. I was like,
all right. Number choice. 4. Joey, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is a picture book, actually, that's haunted me since my youth. One of my favorite children authors of all time, Mr. Chris Van Allsburg, a Providence resident, speaking of H.P. Lovecraft. I grew up devouring Chris Van Allsburg books, but this one in particular, The Mysteries of Harris Burdick, really got me freaked out, but also intrigued. I'm going to turn to the one page that really does it to me every time. If you want to scare Joey Royale, bring in churches, nuns, and statues. So if you're not familiar with this book, it's all pictures. The story is that a strange man left a portfolio at a publishing company, never came back to return it, and all it was an illustration with the name of the illustration in a phrase. So this one, if you can see, this one's called The 7 Chairs, where it's just a nun floating in a chair as 2 priests look on, and the phrase is The 7 Chairs, the 5th one ended up in France. There's been a lot of, as a teacher, I used to use this a lot as writing prompts. This is a great one for Halloween time. Just dessert. She lowered the knife and it grew even brighter. So there is actually an anthology of stories by famous writers that were tasked with taking on these titles and quotes and stories. This one, many are familiar with, The House on Maple Street, as the house is taking off. It was the perfect liftoff. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that's where that came from, because I've seen that image with the King story. So
yes, there are some beautiful pictures in here, very freaky stuff. I just can't get enough of Chris Van Allsburg. Jumanji and all that stuff, but this one is particularly great. Like, hold on, I got to just show you one more. This is a really great one. Archie Smith, Boy Wonder. And it's just a little boy in his bed with the window open, and these orbs are floating in. And the quote is, a tiny voice asked, is he the one?
Wow.
Ooh, yeah.
And Van Allsburg does all the art as well. This very interesting pencil pastel kind of thing. So that one always struck me as a good spooky thing, not only to read and think, but also it's I've written a couple of just fun stories ever since I was like 8 based on those, and I've used it as a teacher as well to get kids writing.
Oh, that's very cool.
Never heard of that. That's I feel like that there's like an RPG product in that, which is just like have somebody do a compose an image, and then just a writer comes up with a title in like one evocative line, and then that's
I stole it, man.
25 great adventure prompts.
I got this thing for WHPA called June Manifestations. I did 30 paintings in 30 days, and it's just a monster, and then there's just one line that is supposed to be an adventure hook. So I stole it. It's a wonderful way to do it, but it's also neat when you see the anthology of like the famous writers that wrote stuff. Stephen King did The House on Maple Street, I think. Neil Gaiman did some, so it's neat stuff.
Cool.
Very cool.
Never heard of it before, so my worldview is now larger than it was.
There you go.
So awesome. All right, Brendan, number 4.
All right, my number 4. Some of you might know that I'm a huge Clive Barker fan and have been for a long, long time. And the one that I like, I'm a huge fan of a lot of this novel, but the one that I go back to the most these days is The Scarlet Gospels by Clive Barker. So it actually brings together 2 of his main characters, which is Harry D'Amour, which is a detective who is constantly getting himself embroiled in metaphysical and spooky mysteries. But then also it brings in Pinhead from, of course, the Hellraiser stories. And it's sort of like this is sort of like the real story of Pinhead, and it's very interesting to me. Like the Scarlet Gospels really goes back more to the lore of the film. It's like, which of course Clive Barker had a hand in and everything, but it really sort of like took a lot of, I think a lot of what was elaborated on from the original short story, the Hellbound Heart, was taken and expanded upon in the movies, and then we sort of see it like kind of come to this huge end in Scarlet Gospels. It has one of my absolute favorite magic ritual scenes ever produced in a book. In the opening, where they the basis is there's a all of the necromancers of the world are being killed off one at a time by Pinhead for reasons, and they decide to raise their dead leader to try to get his help in order to do it. And the actual ritual itself and the description of it and what happens is just like, like so good. It's so good. And it actually, one of the things I'm absolutely like, I don't know, I hate saying obsessed, but very fascinated with, I'm really interested in seeing people's, what hell looks like to different people. A lot of this novel takes place in actual hell. And we find out that Pinhead's real name is the Hell Priest, and that, he's there trying to find out what happened to the great master of hell. The depiction,
that's got to be his real title, right? It's like he wasn't born like little baby, like the Hell Priest, the one that went for my grandfather.
Yeah, that's his
probably so. Yeah. It's actually Hell Albert Priest, which is weird, I think, but who knew? So, but that's his real title. You're right, and but like the view of how hell looks. The one image that I see at one point, there's a tower they have to go up in, and it's got like this spiral staircase that goes up forever, and every stair is just a little bit off, but all in the wrong direction, just to remind you that you are never on sure footing there. You know what I mean? Like just that little detail, just totally sticks with me. So, there's a lot of, I could literally do a show just talking about Clive Barker horror and be very, very happy. But I love the Scarlet Gospels. I don't think it gets enough love, and I say check it out.
Awesome. I'm sold.
Vaguely aware of that, but I have not read that. Yeah, I did. Speaking of magic rituals, I really did enjoy. Well, there's a Magica, but like kind of leading into a Magica was the Great and Secret Show.
Secret Show.
And what's is either the prequel or the sequel, like Everville something.
Everville.
Yeah. those are really good. I do like his take on the
That's
supernatural.
Clive Barker.
Yeah,
Clive Barker, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
I've read the Books
Um,
of Blood, and I really enjoyed them.
Yeah. I really, I think if you want to read this one, you want to read, at least the Hellbound Heart.
Yeah.
But I also, Great and Secret Show is fantastic. I'm really a big fan of that. And I like Weave World, his stuff is great. And he really kind of creates these very elaborate worlds. I love that. I love good world building, especially in a horror novel. And I think they do really nice job.
Really, given your profession, that's a surprise, right? That's
All right.
Similarly, I think he has a couple of good takes at folk horror too. Like he's pretty versatile when it comes to that.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. So give it a look, y'all. All right, Michael, it is your turn. What is your second pick?
My turn. My number 4 is I try to go a little offbeat, mostly because I figure we would be covering some of the more bigger names, but also because I really wanted to get books that had an effect on me, and horror doesn't really get me. It takes really a lot to really kind of get me a little freaked out. But my number 4 did that, and it is a book called Off Season by Jack Ketchum. And so Off Season, if you have not heard of it, is basically a story about a clan of cannibals who are living in Maine. And during the off season, people tend to go missing because they get eaten. It was published by Ballantine Press, and it was Jack Ketchum's first book, and it was so offensive to people, just because of how gory it was. Is like they had edited it down, they had excised stuff from it before they published it, and then they published it, and people were like, ugh! To the point where when it ran out of the first printing, they didn't print it again because they were because they were just it is creepy. It's there's Jack Ketchum, he did at least 2 sequels to it. They did an adaptation of the sequel to it, which was called Offspring, which is basically the kids from the cannibal cult who didn't get rounded up in the first time. They're still running around and everything. But yeah, it's really gory. We keep getting cut scenes back to the cannibal cave and what's going on. And I don't want to, literally like the opening chapter, somebody gets eaten. So it's not a surprise that there are cannibals going around here.
Awesome.
I think cannibalism is such a great hook for. It's because it's one of those things is that everybody horror is so subjective, but cannibalism is one of those things. It's just it is ultimate taboo, but at the same time you're 3:00 in the morning. You're if I went down in a plane and it was me and Brendan, it's it's one of there's always that back of it's a great taboo, but it's a taboo which you can break if push comes to shove, which is kind of one of the reasons why I'm really enjoying Yellow Jacket so much, because again, same things and everything. So Cannibal Freak. That's it. I haven't
Very
eaten
good.
this year.
Very cool. I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, it's kind of offbeat. Mostly because it ran after the first press run, it went out. But I think in 2012, early 2000s, Cemetery Dance, they reprinted it, and they reprinted it with all the stuff they excised for the first time. So cool. That's where I came across it. So
nice, very cool,
great,
right.
Excellent choice.
Okay,
all right.
Joey,
my number 3 is a perennial read of mine. Something Wicked This Week by Ray Bradbury. And if you know, you know my love for Mr. Bradbury, one of my biggest inspirations ever since I was a kid. This book has the horrific elements of this book for me has changed over time. I read it as a young kid, and it's so much going on. Just the fear of the unknown in a small town. That's kind of like my Milk and Cookies. The fear of losing your parents, the fear of getting older. And then as I get older and become a parent, I start to really understand what Tom's father is feeling, looking back at childhood with melancholy nostalgia. feeling your body get old, watching your kids grow up and wanting to teach them. Like, that's the real existential horror. But if I may, just for a second, this is classic Ray Bradbury. Oh God, midnight's not bad. You wake up and you go back to sleep. 1 or 2's not bad. You toss but sleep again. 5 or 6 in the morning, there's hope for dawn's just under the horizon. But 3, Mr. Curtis, as you just segued into, 3 a.m. Now, Christ, 3 a.m., doctors say the body's at low tide then. The soul is out. The blood moves slow. You're the nearest to death you'll ever be, save dying. Sleep is a patch of death, but 3 in the morn, full wide-eyed staring is living death. You dream with your eyes open. God, if you had strength to rouse up, you'd slaughter your half-dreams with buckshot. But no, you lie pinned to a deep well bottom that's burned dry. The moon rolls by to look at you down there with its idiot's face. It's a long way back to sunset, a far way on to dawn. So you summon all the fool things of your life, the stupid, lovely things done with people known so very well, who are now so very dead. And wasn't it true, had he read somewhere, more hot people in hospitals die at 3 a.m. than any other time? Mr. Bradbury, you son of a gun.
Hell yeah.
It's funny you say that, because I within reach, I was able to pull out one of my commonplace books, and this is where things go to live. And I would like to read a small selection from this as well. So, for some, autumn comes early, stays late through life, where October follows September and November touches October, and then instead of December and Christ's birth, there is no Bethlehem star, no rejoicing. But September comes again, and old October, and so on down the years, with no winter, spring, or revivifying summer. For these beings, fall is the ever normal season, the only weather. There will be no choice beyond. Where do they come from? The dust. Where do they go? The grave. Does blood stir their veins? No, the night wind. What ticks in their head? The worm. What speaks from their mouths? The toad. What sees from their eyes? The snake. What hears from their ears? The abyss between the stars. They lift the human storm for souls, eat flesh of reason, fill tombs with sinners. They frenzy forth. In gusts they beetle scurry, creep, thread, filter, motion, make all moons sullen, and surly cloud all clear run waters. This spider web hears them, trembles, breaks. Such are autumn people. Beware of them.
Beware the autumn people. Oh, beautiful.
Something wicked way this comes. Page 141 and 142. Yes.
That
awesome.
book is chock full of those things.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful book that's like that in the Count of Monte Cristo. I don't think I'll ever get tired of those 2 books.
Sure. I get that.
Good choice. Good choice. I don't have fond memories of the adaptation of it. I mean, was there a Disney movie of it?
No, I don't touch
you can't do that in a Disney movie, right?
No, that's what I wouldn't mind seeing, a modern adaptation of that by somebody who was really a real fan of the work.
Guillermo del Toro, something wicked.
Guillermo. Yeah, hell yeah.
Wes Anderson presents Something Wicked This Way Comes. I think that would be kind of
with Selma Hayek as the Dust Witch. Boom.
John Waters as the Carnival Barker. Yeah, that would be
yeah.
All right. Well, all right. So Brendan, we're 20 minutes left. Why don't we?
Oh my God! All right, real quick. So I'm gonna speed up. You know what? You talked about ones that really scared you. This is a book that really scared me as a child. That so much love for my parents. They let me read anything, so I read a lot of things way before my little tiny smooth brain was ready for it. And one of those was I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. I love that novel, and it scared the mess out of me. I was like, the isolation of it, the idea that that vampires were real, that there was a scientific, reason for why all of this was happening. It made it all seem very plausible, and the ending where he gets deceived and sort of brought into the thing, and then the whole way it flips at the end, that really terrified me. It really, really, really got me when I was a kid. And I will never forgive that movie adaptation that was done of it. Never.
God. And yeah, the whole codon is like, and that's why I am legend. Like, no, that's not why you are legend. That's the entire plot of the story. That's it.
Yeah. Why don't we take this great thing about evolution and turn it to a parable about fate? You dirty so-and-sos. Never forgive. Never.
I gave it to my son 3 weeks ago. He's not a voracious reader. He ate this up I felt so proud the other day. I was going to the bookstore. He's like, Dad, find me some more Richard Matheson. I'm like, yes, we did it. Beautiful book. Horrifying book. Very well done. I love anything by Richard Matheson.
Yeah. My cat's being sick right now at this, just the sound of the adaptation. Poor Sue, you're okay. Poor Esme too. Oh yeah, she went for it.
Totally agree there. Keep the Gamer Geek. Last Man on Earth was Vincent Price. I mean, I have a personal although I will have to say, I have a personal love for Omega Man.
Me too. Oh yeah. Me
too.
When the first time I saw Omega Man, a friend of mine, actually one of my first DMs, he was kind of like semi babysitting me and my brother, and he had Omega Man on, and we were watching, I was watching Omega Man, and the whole opening scene with Charlton Heston driving around Los Angeles and everything, and he just pulls over, and there's movement upstairs, and he just reaches into it breaks like the submachine gun, and he blasts the second floor of this building, and my little 8-year-old head was like, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah.
I love Omega Man.
Oh yeah. There's the one scene in that where the kid shows up and he's being kind of sketchy, and he's over there. And I remember watching that with my friend, and his dad is sitting in the background and goes, yeah, pat him down for some Foster Grants. I was dying. That was the funniest thing I'd ever heard in my life. That movie rules, and you should check it out. And you should definitely check out I Am Legend by Richard Matheson.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. All right. Moving things along, I am going to go with my number 3, which is very special to me because this was the last book, I believe, which I bought off of a spinner rack, which wasn't a Goodman Games spinner rack. I bought this, and it was a spinner rack in a convenience store in New Paltz, New York, in 1991, 1992. It was one of those books where it's not a bookstore, but I'm buying books.
Yeah.
This is The Light at the End by John Skipp and Craig Spector, which is basically the book which cooked off the splatterpunk movement amongst horror. It is the story of a vampire, well, technically a street punk who gets bit by a vampire and abandoned in New York City. And he begins preying on the inhabitants of New York City. It's 1985. It's the New York City I remember. And basically, his ex-girlfriend, the members of a bicycle messaging service, and I believe a priest or a rabbi. It's been a while, but they all kind of realize that there's a vampire running amok in New York City, using the subway tunnels to stay out of the daylight, and they decide to hunt him down.
I gotta read this.
It's awesome. Dungeons and Dragons has a guest appearance. At one point, they're just sitting around playing a game of D&D, and this is they're not nerdy high school kids. They're actually it seemed grown up, but they're probably in their mid-20s or and they're sitting around, and one of them comes up with a plan of how to this is how we're going to get the vampire. So totally awesome, amazing group. Like I said, I bought it off of a spinner rack. Can't go wrong. So I love this one. It's still in print. It was on the New York best time bestseller list, but it's not one that a lot of people know about.
I have to read this. That sounds so amazing.
Really good. Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, Joey, you're up, cuz.
My number 2. Dracula. Bram Stoker Dracula. That's it, man. I read that it not too long ago. I read it again. Still gave me shivers. My wife read it, gave her shivers. My sister, I got it for my sister's birthday. I got her a copy. She's reading right now. She's like, holy cow, why have I not read this? Why don't more people read this book? It is scary as hell. It has every element. It's a great foundation for lore about the undead. The action sequences, like the chase at the end, is one of my favorite pieces of thriller fiction that I've ever read in my life. It's Dracula, for crying out loud. All right. I'm not going to go on for an hour about it. It's friggin' Dracula. Read Dracula, or there's something the matter with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
That's what I was saying. The year I turned 30, I went on a road trip with my ex, and we passed a lot of time reading it to each other. We didn't finish the whole thing, but we read most of it to each other, as we were driving through California and Texas. It was that's an excellent book. And it deserves all of its accolades.
Yes, it does.
I don't think it gets enough accolades because I think it's one of the first techno thrillers. It's because because we're all looking at it as like, oh, this is like, oh, it's old timey times, everything. But when Bram Stoker wrote this was Victorian era. It was 1993, I want to say off the top. 1893 off the top of my head, and everything. But if you're looking at it in 1893, there is so much quote unquote high tech in there. Mina has her typewriter. They have
I see what
they
you're
have the
saying.
Winchester repeating rifles. Arthur has the steam launch, which they use to go upriver when they go into. There's so much, like Dr. Seward has like basically the wax cylinder recorder stuff.
Yeah,
You're right.
So
This
is
That's
like
pretty cool.
it's like Tom Clancy,
That's a cool thing.
and Mina's typewriter and her able to like basically bring all of everybody's notes together and form like some single narrative is basically what allows them to track down Dracula.
Huh.
So
that's
really cool. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, that's great. And then like, in Van Helsing, he's the quintessential cleric.
Mm-hmm.
Turn undead,
Right.
I do love it.
So, all right. I guess that brings us to you, Brendan.
Okay, so my number 2 choice for this evening that I recommend is Carrion Comfort by Dan Simmons. Dan Simmons is one of those writers that can do a lot. He's got great sci-fi out there. He wrote my very favorite spy novel of all time, The Crook Factory, and he has done this, which Carrion Comfort is a masterpiece of horror. In it, you have these they are mind control vampires. They look like humans. They live amongst us, but they can control other people's minds, and they use that. By doing so, they keep themselves from growing old. So they keep one age. So a lot of the people in the story of this have been around for hundreds of years. They basically play games with the world. There is the Island Club, where these people just literally, control people and just sort of like pit them against each other using actual human beings as pawns. It's an absolute horror. It starts off from the creature's point of view. They have a dispute within them, and it becomes very, very, very violent. And then it picks up with some humans, some people who discover the mystery and who get involved and sort of take it to its logical conclusion. It's world spanning. The nightmare world is absolutely horrific in this place. And it has some great horror scenes, and it's like a lot of these things. It's there's some old timey values in there, so take it with a grain of salt. But I think it's an excellent. The horror bits are horrific. The ending is fantastic, and it's spooky. It's one of those things that I revisit in my mind a lot. So check it out. I think it's a good one.
Sounds cool.
Honorable mention, Summer of Night, the actual ultimate kids in peril from horror things novel, which I can't believe has not been adapted 10 times by now, because it's exactly the kind of thing you want to, it's kids on bikes, running from ghouls. It's
what is that called again? That one?
Summer of Night.
Summer of Night on the list.
Yeah. And I want to say there's a sequel to Summer of Night, and I cannot remember what it's called. I think it's like we revisit one of the survivors. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, Mr. Curtis.
That brings to me, my number 2 is Headhunter by Michael Slade, and there's another one, kind of offbeat one. Michael Slade is the pen name of, I think his name is Jay Clark. He is a Canadian criminal defense lawyer. And all of his stories are they have some sort of historical element to it. Sometimes they stray almost into the supernatural, but not quite. They leave things vague enough. And Headhunter was his first book. He wrote it, I think, with his law partner at the time. And it takes place in Vancouver. And as the title suggests, somebody is going around killing people and taking their heads off. So it's very horrific, but it's also more of a mystery thriller type thing. So it's this Canadian task force amongst the Mounties trying to basically track down who this killer is. And it's one of those stories which takes place in between, you get kind of the cop's point of view, and then you get the kind of the killer's point of view, and it goes back and forth. But it has such a twist to it. It's one of those books when literally a friend of mine gave it to me and said, "Read it. I'm not going to tell you anything about it." And when it was over, I was done. It was like it was one of those books. It was so well done, but at the same time, I wanted to throw it across the damn room because the twist was so. It was like kind of like the Sixth Sense moments. You're like, oh,
yeah.
I should have seen this coming, but but it was so obfuscated. So it was absolutely amazing. I kind of went back and forth because his second book is called Ghoul, and it is equally good. And actually, in some ways, it's better. There's like Lovecraft references to it. It's about a rock and roll band, so there's like a lot of it. The kind of the main character is a different main character from Headhunter, and in like the later books, like they eventually come together, like they form this Special X, which is the criminal task force. So you could start, if you were interested in reading Michael Say, you could start with either one. I personally, I would say start with Headhunter because it's just like the end. It's just such a great twist at it. You're like, all right, but if you're looking for something which is more what we consider horror, I mean, I think Ghoul is definitely like on. But either one, can't go wrong with it. Did a whole bunch of them afterwards. So good stuff. Okay,
Excellent.
and this brings us to our number one picks. So all right,
Number one.
Which
Go, Joey, go.
yeah, Michael and I share this one, I believe.
we do.
I have not been the same. I'm saying this no hyperbole there. I have just one of those defining moments of who I've become was my first exposure to Stephen King's Salem's Lot. My grandparents, humored me with my request for the Stephen King library. I used to get one by mail every month. The big hardcovers. Salem's Lot terrified me. It was my first introduction to Stephen King, other than Stand By Me. So this is my first Stephen King novel, and boy, does it still pack a punch. Read it again last year, still holds with it. There's so many memorable parts, but for me, the one that really terrified me was somewhere in the beginning where they first visit the Marston house, creeping up the stairs, and he has the vision of the hanging man in the closet, the yellowed newspapers that always stuck with me. I'm like, oh wow, other people think like this. So I'll let Mr. Curtis take it away from there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Stephen King. I really like his early stuff, and I think one of the reasons I really like his early stuff is because he hadn't yet become Stephen King, so he had to abide by his editors more. And I think Salem. I'm kidding. I was like,
No.
A tight book.
Breach.
It is.
As opposed to like a 1,000-page doorstop, which he did later on into it. And I think Stephen King is a great storyteller. I mean, he really, like, his characters are always interesting. They feel real. I mean, you really get wrapped up in the setting and everything like that. But 7 times out of 10, it really has difficulty sticking that landing. The Stand, famously, literally the hand of God comes down, and
Literally,
even still, there's still 300 pages of book after. I mean,
I agree. And
Yeah.
they die, and the characters die. There are characters when you invest so much in these characters, and there's some characters that particularly pull on your heartstrings in Salem's Lot, and they don't make it, and they go down.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I think as I mentioned at the start of the program, I love a small town with a sinister secret. So obviously Salem Lot is right up there with me. And when I say I like Salem's Lot, I actually like the Salem's Lot extended universe, which includes Jerusalem's Lot.
Jerusalem's Lot, Chef's Kiss. What a beautiful ode to Lovecraft.
Yeah, right. It's either in Night Shift or Skeleton Crew. It's in one of
it's excellent. It's so good.
So good. It's a Call of Cthulhu, so colonial Call of Cthulhu waiting to happen. Yep. And then of course, after that, of course, One for the Road.
Yes. Oh man. Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, that's excellent.
So some really good stuff. Can't go wrong. And of course, Marston House, a title which hasn't shown up on our list and is obviously definitely worth honorable mention. Marston House, of course, inspired by Hill House, the famous Hill House by Shirley Jackson. So Stephen King knew he was ripping off, and you're going to steal from the best. So yeah, I mean, it's such a great book. Yeah,
100%, man.
Well said.
So absolutely.
Joey and I's number one. Leaving Brendan, your number one.
Okay, so I'm a huge Stephen King fan my whole life, but if I had to pick just one, and I love Salem's Lot, though that's the one I was saving that for a rainy day, so I didn't read that until I was in my 30s, but the one that I fell in love with and the one that I think everyone should check out is Christine.
Yeah.
I think Christine is the classic American horror story. It is a haunted 60s Chevy that is, has the spirit of this old man based into it. It's very freaky. I think it is. I think it really paints a really interesting picture of all of the characters who are in there, and Christine is this wonderful villain. There's a reveal at one point when Christine surprises Moochie Wallace. It's my favorite horror, surprise horror reveal ever in literature so far. The first time I read that, my heart just jumped into my throat, oh no, he's gonna die. I didn't even like that character, and it just lit me up. It was great. So it's it's a wonderful book, and it's all woven in with nostalgia. It's all woven in with rock and roll. Rock and roll, rock and roll of the 50s is really like another character in the novel.
Yeah,
and so I recommend if you haven't, I think Christine is absolutely a fantastic book, and it's like I said, it's the quintessential American horror novel in my opinion.
It's relentless. It's relentless. It's just she comes.
Oh yeah,
back. She comes back. She comes back. A perfect villain. Well put.
Another quintessential horror movie is owning a house you can't afford to make payments on.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
So
well, no, the obsession, the horror, the real horror in that is the obsession, and a good soul turned bad. That's a bad woman right there, man. Woo! I got to go back to that one. That was my second one that I got in the series, from the library, the library in the mail from Time Life. I got to go back to that one. That's a beautiful piece of fiction right there.
Oh, so
I will cop. I've actually never read Christine. I've seen the movie.
Small town horror, man. Small town horror with rock and roll. You take Salem's Lot and you smash it with American Graffiti. You got Christine.
Huh. Because to me it was all. I mean, it was one of those things I just quite didn't get it because mostly because I'm not really a car guy. But as I got older, it was just I started looking at Stephen King's work, and then there was the Mangler about the possessed steam.
Yeah.
And then there was From a Buick 8, and I'm like, Steve. I'm going back to the well one too many times here. Is this, it's it's a haunted car. Have we done this before, Steve? So all right, but yeah, no. All right, I definitely will give it a point. I haven't read. I think the last Stephen King book that I remember reading was All Dark No Stars. So it's been a while.
All Dark No Stars, yeah.
Yeah, I never read Under the Dome again because it got to the book stop, the door stop thing and everything like that. So
I stopped at Hearts in Atlantis. That was the last Stephen King, in terms of chronology. So I am only Stephen King before that.
Yeah, I went back. I started reading, and I got to the Dead Zone. So, but it was because I never read. I read parts of Firestarter, and I never read Carrie. I just seen the movie and everything. Reading the book is it's amazing because it's like Dracula. It's a epistolary novel, and it takes place in this kind of weird alternate America. It's slightly in the future where their psychic powers are kind of accepted and everything. So it's really odd, but you can see why Stephen King became Stephen King off.
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
I think. Oh, no, we got 1 minute, so let's shut it down.
And Smellburn is waiting behind us, so we don't want. We want a good host, considering we're back for for one time. So we're gonna we're gonna usher ourselves off. I gotta go put razor blades in apples and stuff, so I got a full night ahead of me. So.
Real quick before you leave, my suggestion for the season. Everybody, North American Lake Monsters by Nathan Ballingrud. If you like short story horror, contemporary stuff, very good. Thanks for having me on, guys. I love this. We have a whole show about vampire books. Wouldn't that be cool?
Oh yeah.
Well, we'll have when we do this in 2024. We can go back. We do this. So, obviously, Brendan and I, we are going back into the crypt after this. But Joey, where can people find you when we're not there? We're not around. When's the next episode of Joey Royale's Pizza Party airing?
Elena and I have to talk about that, but it'll probably be mid-November. And then first weekend of December, I'll be at PAX Unplugged at the Goodman Games booth with Dieter and the crew. So I'll see you there.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for us for joining Keep Crawling, our post. We don't during the show anymore, but somehow we still are. So
here we are.
Everybody have a happy Halloween if you're celebrating. Be safe out there. Keep your cats indoors and so all right. And we'll see you at some indeterminate period in the future when Brendan and I decide to kind of do this again, probably around some sort of major convention or something. So, all right. So we're out of here. Stay tuned for Spellburn coming up right after it. I think they're going to talk horror too.